yesterday, and it features the late Caroline Flack. So it's actually this story here we printed out from the People, and it's about Harry having a date with Caroline Flack, the Gladiator star as she was, and 2009. And this was used by Harry as an example of what hacking did, because he did not expect this story to be in the papers. He said he found photographers hiding under a car. You can see when they meet here, he's obviously, they're somewhere where the couple can't initially see them. They're going to a dinner party. He said he obviously doubted Caroline at the time, so he thought that maybe the story came from her. Mirror Group newspapers say its journalist had no direct involvement. We can speak now with Caroline Flack's mother, Christine. Christine, you're supporting Harry in this trial?
Yes, very much so, yeah.
And you can see with this story how Harry initially might have suspected it came from Caroline, but it didn't.
No, and Carrie was the same in her life. Whenever a story appeared in the paper, it causes distrust amongst your friends and your family. You know, she said, "Mum, have you said anything?" But when she was seeing Harry, she knew her phone was being hacked. So we used to use a different telephone. You know, and I mean, I believe they tried, well, I can't really say, I was going to say they tried hacking our phones as well. But, you know, I just think Harry's doing it for everybody. I do, and I think he's very brave because he's getting such an awful lot of stick as well. And the people that are reporting on him are the same people that, you know, he's in court against. So it's doubly hard.
I don't know, yeah, you know, that's the thing, and it's very unfair, I suppose, but whether you ever win a battle against the papers, I don't know.
Yeah, but you shouldn't be even saying that, Jeremy. I've been told that. I've been told, you know, don't say anything about the Sun, you know, with that awful picture of her blood they put on the front page, because you may need them. Or what can they do to you? But what I think is my daughter's dead.
People live in fear of them.
What do you?
No, actually, I don't. But then I'm not in the zone that Caroline was in or that Harry was in, where I
but
guess
you
they
you
felt...
are. If something happened in your private life, Jeremy, because you've got so many things that you're on, that would be all over the paper, I assure you.
Well, I kind of accept
and
that.
It wouldn't be nice for you or your family, and that's what Harry's trying to say.
I hear you. And I mean, I don't know how you felt his evidence went in court, but it sounded like a howl of pain to me.
It was. You know, and even when you started this morning, you picked up two things, you know, that he couldn't answer. Well, when they talked to the reporter afterwards, is it Jane Kerr or someone Kerr? She couldn't even remember writing the stories. So what does that tell you?
I was going to say, did Caroline establish that she was hacked, her phone, or will we never really know?
Well, how can you say? You know, they had private conversations of hers that they wouldn't have been able to get anywhere else. Yeah.
It does all leave a very bitter taste, doesn't it?
It does. And, you know, after, you know, the court, she was arrested, I went to her flat to clean up all the blood, not the man's, but hers, and I was followed all the way across London by Paps.
Really?
You know, it's horrendous what the press do. Horrendous. And I'm just so pleased he's doing something about it.
Thank you very much for talking to us, Christine Flack, Caroline's mum.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. In this case is that you're fired on from all directions. Every time you open your phone, he's there. Every time you turn on your computer, he's there. And you know that what he's doing is he's adjusting or despoiling your digital self. Now, you may say, well, it doesn't matter, you just come offline. But the fact is that, you know, we live 70, 80, 90 years, but our digital presence goes on forever. And you can see yourself being dismantled. And you can't see it ending.
The judge actually said when he sentenced Belfield, you didn't meet or physically approach or watch any of your victims as a traditional stalker might have done. Your methods were, however, just as effective as a way of intimidating your victims and were in many ways much harder to deal with.
The danger came from the online traffic, not from the individual. I would have done anything to meet this guy and have a conversation with him face to face. He wouldn't have been threatening, he was probably a coward. But what he wanted to do was create so much hatred against me that someone acted by proxy. I'm absolutely certain that he knows, with 400,000 people watching those videos, that at some point someone is going to take a knife or acid to my home. Or the other thing is, he gets one of his victims to take their own life. We heard about someone trying exactly that in the court case, one of the victims. 2 of them described themselves as becoming suicidal. That is not to be taken lightly. I think if the courts hadn't stopped Alex Belfield, somebody would have died.
Someone who stalks in person we imagine to be hiding in the shadows, but what Alex Belfield and his army of followers was doing was in plain sight. Everyone could see it on Twitter and YouTube.
It's extraordinary. And I think there's a business model here, and this case has broken it, which is great news for everyone. But the original business model was started by Alex Jones in the USA, and it's basically selling massive amounts of misinformation on the basis that often lies are more interesting than truth.
Alex Jones is the man who said the Sandy Hook shooting did not happen.
That's right.
And was recently sued for libel by the parents of one of the children who was killed.
Correct. So you create a market for lies.
Over and over again. You know, Prince Harry's got 3 pieces of litigation going on against the Mail, against the Murdoch Company, and today his case against the Daily Mirror starts. The significance of Harry is twofold. A, he's got enough money that he is saying, I don't care what you offer me, I don't care how much it costs if I lose, I'm going to have a hearing. Do you know there's nearly 2,000 phone hacking cases have been silenced, where the people suing have been paid off before they could get to court. The risks of going on were just too terrifying financially. Okay, so we are moving towards an evidentiary hearing. The other point of Harry is, if, as is expected, he turns up to give evidence, the newspapers who would like to ignore this story can't do that. They're going to have to cover it. It's beautiful. But what isn't going to happen is that you're going to see structural reform of newspapers in this country so that they start telling the truth instead of dealing in falsehood and distortion. If we had succeeded, we would have that. This country would still be in the European Union if we'd achieved that. But you still have newspapers who abuse their power and, using falsehood, distortion and spite, damage this country over and over again.